Alright everyone, time to go ahead and do a comparison between the Galaxy Fold 4 and the Pixel 6 Pro, and it's crazy because these two phones are massive and my arms are probably going to get sore before the end of this video. But if you want to pick up either one of these phones, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there. You can help support the channel at the same time. Now I will tell you the Pixel 6 Pro is a much cheaper phone than the Galaxy Z Fold 4. This is a massive phone with a massive display. This phone is retailing for about $1,800. You can get the Pixel 6 Pro for probably even less than $700 now in the used market, but I believe retail they were sold for $899, which is, a decent price for this phone. It's a pretty expensive phone here, but it also is a folding phone. So on the Galaxy Z Fold 4, we have two different displays. On the front, we have a 7.6-inch huge resolution display. It's 120 Hz dynamic AMOLED. It also has a smaller 6.2-inch dynamic AMOLED display on the front. And this is actually a pretty good panel. I think it's actually a really, really good panel for the most part. It's like a Galaxy S22 screen. But for the basis of this video, we will be using the front display, and it's a really good panel in my opinion. Hole punch display with a a camera that's under the display, which is really nice. On the Pixel 6 Pro, on the other hand, we have a 6.71-inch LTPO AMOLED display. It's a 120 Hz panel, and I will say this is a really good panel too. Pretty big hole punch display compared to other phones nowadays, but it's a really good screen. I like this screen a lot. It's definitely not perfect, but I think it's pretty good, and between both, it's definitely very interesting. I will say the Pixel 6 Pro is thicker, but one thing you have to keep in mind is that if we were to go ahead and shut this phone, you can see how pretty, different the thickness is. I mean, it's a pretty thick phone regardless on both, but definitely the Pixel 6 Pro is a thinner phone when it's folded like this, but when it's unfolded, it's a little bit of a different story. And on the back, we have a different type of camera setup, but they're both kind of the same thing. We have a triple camera setup on both, triple camera setups, but the main thing, like I mentioned before, is that they're a little bit different. I'll get into that later on in the video. Frosted glass back on the back of the Galaxy Z Fold 4, we have a standard glass back on the Pixel 6 Pro. Both are great USB Type-C ports on the bottom, no expandable storage on either one of these things, and honestly, that kind of covers it up on the outside. Now, in terms of software and the longevity of both these phones, and this is where things are very, very different between both. So, one is on One UI, which I'm starting to like now, and the other one is stock Android. Now, with One UI and with Galaxy Z Fold 4, this phone is going to last for several more years from now, and so is the Pixel 6 Pro. This phone, like I said, just came out, so it's going to be here for many more years to come. And because of the chipset and everything, there's a likelihood that Samsung may end up even, lengthening the software support on this phone. But I will say, with it being a foldable device, we haven't really seen too many people adapt the foldable device to get a good idea of how long these phones are going to last. In fact, another kind of issue I have with a lot of foldable phones that Samsung makes is that they don't really support those phones with day one updates. Like as soon as the Galaxy S22 gets an update, the Z Fold 4 is probably not going to get that same update for a little bit of time, which is kind of annoying. I think they're going to be getting a little bit better with that, but if we're looking at the years of support, the Z Fold 4 is still going to be supported for many, many more years to come. In fact, I honestly don't know which one is going to last longer, the Z Fold 4 or the Pixel 6 Pro. It used to be that Samsung's wouldn't last as long as the Pixels, but now that doesn't seem to be the case. And in my opinion, I feel like we could be in a situation where maybe the Z Fold 4 may end up lasting longer than even like the Pixel 7 and 7 Pro that's about to come out. But between these two, I'm not too sure which one is going to be the winner there. If I had to guess, maybe the Pixel 6 Pro would last, just as long as the Z Fold 4, but it's not as clear of an answer as it used to be. I mean, it used to be like, oh, the Pixel 6 Pro is going to last way longer, but that's not quite the case anymore. So it's very interesting how things are starting to switch up. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between both these phones. The Pixel 6 Pro has that Google Tensor chipset inside of it with 12 gigabytes of RAM, with the Galaxy Z Fold 4 has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 chipset inside of it with 12 gigabytes of RAM as well. So let's go and see which one's the fast one between both of these. Okay, all right, let's go and clear all the apps in the background. So these are all cleared out, and with the Pixel 6 Pro, these are all cleared out as well. So let's get into it. It's going to be kind of hard. Let's do phone calls, 3, 2, 1. Okay, kind of a little bit different. Messages, 3, 2, 1. Almost the same thing too, not that big of a difference. Let's go and do their Play Stores, 3, 2, 1. So it looks like the Z Fold 4 may have been a little bit faster there. So very, very close. If we're scrolling through between both, I don't know if there's going to be that big of a difference, but it's actually, they're both kind of the same thing. If anything, the Pixel 6 Pro looks a little bit glitchier. Okay, let's do the camera. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, about the same thing. I'm not really seeing too many differences between both. It kind of seems like one is faster than the other one, but they're both loading things up at a different time. Let's go get into this one. Yeah, I don't know. I actually think the Z Fold 4 may have been a little bit faster there, but very, very close. As always, we have a bunch of these third-party applications we can go and try out. Let's go and get into it. So Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so you can see the Z Fold 4 is quite a bit fast here, which is really good. You can see my foot right here too if you want to take a look. And yeah, the Z Fold 4 definitely was faster there. The Pixel 6 Pro was a little bit behind. Let's go and click play between both. And I don't think there's going to be a difference here, but still the Pixel 6 Pro is a little bit slower, not a crazy big deal. Let's go and do Fruit Ninja, which I don't have. Let's go and try Snake First Blocks, 3, 2, 1. Very close between both, so not really that big of a difference there. Let's go and try another one. Let's try Snapchat, 3, 2, 1. Okay, about the same thing. Let's go and hop out of here. Let's do the original Temple Run, which of course I do not have, but we do have Genshin Impact on both devices, so we can try that one out. 3, 2, 1. Now this is a massive game, so usually the load screen isn't as crazy as the actual loading into the game, but we'll just kind of see how it loads up on both. And you can see the Z Fold 4 was a little bit faster there. I've played this game so many times on the Pixel 6 Pro. I don't know why it makes me go through the whole entire display again thing, but definitely when it comes down to both after, this small little speed comparison, as well as using both these phones quite a bit, I think the Z Fold 4 may be a little bit faster. The 8 Plus Gen 1 chipset is amazing. The Pixel 6 Pro is still a very fast phone, especially for that price tag, but I'd probably give the edge to the Z Fold 4 for being the faster one. Now, in terms of the actual cameras between both, this is where things are even more interesting. So like I said, both have that triple camera setup on the back, and both are pretty good sensors for the most part. You can do 4K at 60 on the back, you can do 4K at 60 on the front for the most part between both, which is always good. But I will say with the Pixel 6 Pro, for it being a much cheaper phone, I'm actually really happy with the way this camera still is holding up for so many years now. Like I said, wide, ultra wide, and telephoto lens. And if we go ahead and get into the photos, I can definitely tell you this camera quality is still very good for the most part. Like, this is still a very solid camera, except for mine that's not, actually zooming in. This camera, you can do pretty much everything you'd want to with it. It has, night side, motion, video mode, standard modes as well. But my main issue with the Pixel camera, same thing with iPhones, there are very little features within this camera compared to Samsung's. Even this one, this is like pretty much the main type of feature set that we get. With something like Samsung's though, even with the Galaxy Z Fold 4, Samsung throws in so many different features into this camera, which is so awesome. If I go ahead and just show you this camera, and even on this screen, it is a very good sensor, and I really do like the Z Fold 4 camera. And honestly, I think the Z Fold 4 may have a better camera than the Pixel 6 Pro, but this camera is not better than the S22 Ultra, which is cheaper than this thing. So one thing I love about Samsung cameras, you have the standard modes, but then you have under more a lot more options. I love Samsung for giving us these options here. And again, this is something that's going to stand the test of time. You can give me a Galaxy S10, and there are still so many features within that camera that even the Pixel 6 Pro doesn't even have. So that's something to always keep in mind. And I love this phone. I love this camera. But like I said, it's better than the Pixel 6 Pro. But the issue is that it's not better than the S22 Ultra, which is significantly cheaper than this phone. So in terms of that, that covers it up there. And to be honest, at the end of the day, which one is the better one? Well, I will tell you, in my opinion, the one I would rather have is probably the Pixel 6 Pro. There's still something about the folding thing I'm not that big of, I haven't really got into yet. But the Pixel 6 Pro, in my opinion, I feel like this phone is going to give you better battery life. I tested the battery life between these two. The Pixel 6 Pro was better. I feel like the performance maybe is not as good as the Z Fold 4, but it's still a very good performing phone for the most part. I like the display on this thing. I think the camera's still alright, but I do like the Google Tensor chipset, and I like stock Android, so this is probably the one I would pick up, especially for that price tag. But the Z Fold 4, it's insane how good of a phone this thing is. It's been a pretty decent improvement from at least the Z Fold 2, or maybe even the Z Fold 3. Maybe not the Z Fold 3, but this is still a very good phone. I don't really see myself like with the crease and everything, but I think in the next couple generations, if they can make this thing a better deal than the S22 Ultra, then that would make sense. But I would rather have the S22 Ultra than both these phones, but that's kind of how I see it. If you have any other thoughts or questions, then let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video.